us next up on the show, Samino Scott. He's the executive director for the Pontiac Collective Impact Partnership. It is so great to have you on the show. Samino, for those not aware, what exactly is the Pontiac Collective Impact Partnership?
Well, thank you for having me today. I'm excited to be here to talk about it. The Pontiac Collective Impact Partnership is an organization that was formed out of the Pontiac Funders Collaborative, which is a group of regional funders that have been engaged in the city of Pontiac, meeting with local leaders, institutional leaders for a better part of the last year. And what they've determined was what was missing was a collective impact initiative where we brought multiple organizations and leaders from those organizations together to work on solving some complex issues that exist within the community. And they subsequently brought me on to lead that effort.
Well, I know you're new to the position and they're lucky to have you. I feel like Pontiac is one of these cities that it's like they get a little momentum and then it's like pause, start, pause, start. What does the future of Pontiac look like?
Well, the future of Pontiac right now is very bright. We're really excited about things that are happening from the office of the mayor to the schools. Some very positive trends are occurring. The school district is now in the black, they're no longer in a deficit. You may recall years ago, they were $51 million in the hole. And so we're excited about that. Also, we have a number of corporations that have moved into the city. So we really view the Pontiac community as a community of opportunity.
There are some great things going on. I think M1 Concourse is really going to help reshape the city of Pontiac and bring some excitement. But you have United Shore, which is, they've changed their name recently.
Yes.
United Wholesale Mortgage, but now Amazon as well.
Yes.
But are there any, with some of these new companies and businesses coming in, is there anything put in place for them to hire Pontiac residents?
I don't know if that was a part of bringing them into the community. In fact, I know with Amazon that wasn't a process. However, there are opportunities for residents to pursue opportunities within those companies. And as a part of our collective impact work, that's something that we are examining as well to ensure that residents of the community of Pontiac have an opportunity to pursue living wage job opportunities. So we have our eye on that.
So, as we were talking off air before we came on, I'm from Kiko Harbor, but I used to volunteer in Pontiac. I've covered Pontiac for years. A couple of things going on with Pontiac is number one, there is the issue of the crime in Pontiac. I think bringing in the sheriff's department has really helped address some of those issues in Pontiac because it used to be kind of like a small Detroit. People were afraid to stop at the stoplights. So crime is coming down. However, there is still that image of
Mhm.
Pontiac.
Yes.
How do you try to reshape that and change the narrative
Mhm.
about the city? Is that something that's even being addressed with your group?
Absolutely. Between the Pontiac Collective Impact Partnership and the Pontiac Funders Collaborative, which is a separate group, but we are both looking at storytelling and how to tell the story of Pontiac. A story that really consists of a community that is has a rich history with respect to our work ethic, our pride, and really being able to share that with the community is something that we are working on at this very moment.
I love that you mentioned that, but I also know that some of these organizations, talking about nonprofits and some of these other organizations through the years, it's been hard for them to get grants because so much focus has been on Detroit.
Yes.
And so when some of these organizations and companies and government entities are handing out grants, Detroit entities were kind of getting that first bid. Is
Mhm.
that still the case right now?
Absolutely not. I think we've turned the tide on that. And when you think about the Pontiac Funders Collaborative as an example, you have 9 regional funders that have really looked at the city of Pontiac as a community opportunity, a place where they want to invest. And they have 5 or 6 strategic investment initiatives that they are looking at and funding regularly. So you may have caught some of that through the local media, through the Southeastern Community Foundation or Community Foundation of Southeastern Michigan, but they are regularly engaged with local grassroots organizations and providing funding opportunities.
That is so great. And with that, because I always feel like Pontiac is this gem that's
Yes.
kind of just sitting there, right? And it's in the heart of Oakland County, and all of our communities can't grow and can't thrive if not every community is doing so. I know that previously, just as my years as a reporter, one of the issues having to be with, and I didn't know this until I did a story, was that one of the issues being that if you went to prison and you got out, if you lived somewhere in Oakland County, you got a one-way bus ticket to Oakland County, and that dropped you off in the city of Pontiac. So then that led to an increase of convicted felons within the city of Pontiac, which some people do believe then helped lead to the decrease and sustainability and economic growth in the city of Pontiac. Is that still the case? And are some of those issues being addressed with your organization?
Well, with our organization, we're looking at one of the areas that we are considering is quality of life indicators, right? And you talked about earlier safety. So we're definitely looking at that. We have representatives of the Oakland County Sheriff Department that sit at our leadership table. And so as we sit down as a group to talk about those quality of life indicators, we are certainly thinking through how do we address our returning citizens, and how do we do so in a way that provides them with opportunities for economic mobility when they return home.
Yeah, because we need people to thrive and survive. And I had never thought about it before. And he was talking about code enforcement, because you had so many of these private entities that were going into Pontiac and setting up halfway houses, but doing it in a way that businesses, they're business savvy because they were getting money off of it. They weren't doing it in the best interests of the individual, of the convicted felon, because it just by doing that, they were in, parole violation, because they would be around other people that were convicted felons. And so there are so many different facets of this conversation that you don't think about, but Pontiac needs to thrive and survive. Is there any thought to possibly changing the name of the city of Pontiac? Because we are seeing that across the country, just, with the Cleveland Indians right now.
Mhm. Well, we have not engaged in a discussion about changing the name. The name Pontiac has a rich history behind it, and so I'm not sure if that's the appropriate approach to take, but we are committed to changing the narrative of how people see Pontiac. And you can see by what you mentioned earlier, the major corporations that are coming into the city of Pontiac, the strides that we are making with our higher education partners, Oakland University, Oakland Community College. We are really committing to looking at what the future holds in terms of workforce development, in terms of education, in terms of training. So more so than changing the name, we want to change the narrative.
How do you go about doing that?
Well, you mentioned it earlier, beginning to tell our story. What happens for the most part is we define Pontiac by where we are, located in one of the wealthiest counties in the country, but we have the community is filled with people who have an outstanding array of talent. And we are looking at partners such as the Pontiac Transportation Museum that's coming into the city. You mentioned the N1 concourse. So just telling the story about those exciting things that are happening about in the community, and really working with our partners, such as you mentioned the Oakland County Sheriff, our human service agencies, our educational partners, to begin to provide opportunities for our young people to thrive.
So, how do you get people to start moving back into the city of Pontiac? Because I will say, I was downtown this past weekend and I was surprised at the number of empty storefronts in that downtown area, because it seemed like prior to the pandemic, it was really looking good. There were a lot of great restaurants that had opened, but it seems like several of those have closed since then because these are tough times. But also, when it's the same situation that residents of Detroit face, is that if you have a Pontiac address, you are typically paying higher insurance, car insurance, and house insurance as well, which can make Pontiac less attractive.
Well, there are a number of initiatives that are being discussed around that. I know there's some conversation with the Oakland County Executive Office in terms of bringing some of, or at least one of their departments to the downtown area. But Ronnie, I think you really touched on the impact of COVID and not just impacting the region, but certainly the city of Pontiac as well. And so as we come out of this, really the essence of our work is collective impact, or working collaboratively with grassroots organizations, with human service agencies, with our education partners, with the Oakland County Sheriff to develop a comprehensive plan to address some of those issues.
You have such a big job ahead of you. What's on the top of your list to tackle?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing that we want to do is make sure that we engage our community in developing this strategy and implementing this strategy. And so that's one of our first goals, that to reach out to the community, but also really thinking different about how we operate in the city. And I think you touched on earlier about the silos, quite frankly, that people have been operating in, the grassroots organizations, the nonprofits. That's the essence of this work, to bring many of those leaders together to identify some key initiatives to work on over the course of the next 5 to 10 years to really help this community thrive.
So, if someone is watching or listening to this interview, how can they get involved if they are moved by what you're saying and they want to see Pontiac survive?
Yes. Well, the first thing I would have them do is visit our website, Pontiac Collective Impact.org, and then they'll go to the Connect to Us tab, and that'll get an email directly to me, and I'll be happy to follow up.
It is great that someone is finally, I think, by coming together in a collective unit to change the narrative. It's just what you said. You have to change the story and you have to change the narrative about the city of Pontiac, because it is the heart, really, of Oakland County right now.
Indeed, it is. And we want to do everything within our ability to ensure that this once great city reaches its full potential. And we're excited because we have so many people at the table, from the mayor to folks at the county executive level to, again, our education partners. And so we are excited about the potential. The more we meet, the more we learn about exciting opportunities to engage our residents. And that's really the heart of this initiative.
And the other side is there are so many great nonprofit organizations and volunteers, people trying to improve a life for so many people here in the area. And that's great that by having a collective voice,
Mhm.
that it will make it a stronger voice. And I'm happy to see that conversation shift a little bit away from the city of Detroit and back to the city of Pontiac as well, because again, we need Pontiac to thrive, for all of us to thrive here in the community as well. Before I let you go, Samino, I have to ask, the Phoenix Center, what is going on with that property? I can't keep up.
Yes. Well, I have fond memories of concerts at the Phoenix Center, so I can relate to what you're saying, and what I understand through talking to Mayor Waterman, we are really at the end of the road in terms of coming to an agreement where citizens will now once again have access to the Phoenix Center, and some of the great things that you saw taking place during the summer months years ago, we may be able to revisit. So there's some excitement coming from that, although it has been a long time in the making.
Will say, I know that there was a lot of discussion from people saying that they thought it was ill-placed and that, it broke up Woodward and took people away from the businesses and this, that, and the other. I loved the thought. I've been to a couple concerts there back when the festival used to be in Pontiac. I think it's great. Like, there's so much potential to
Absolutely.
keep that. So are they planning to keep it as like a venue for people to see concerts and this, that, and the other? Because I will say too, post COVID, People are going to want outdoor concert spaces.
To your point, it would be a perfect location for that. They already have the pavilion on top. And that is my understanding that in addition to the upgrades that need to occur because of years of neglect, it will one day soon be used as a destination of entertainment for not just people in the city of Pontiac, but people in the region as well.
Well, Samino Scott with us. He's the new executive director for the Pontiac Collective Impact Partnership, a new partnership that you have high goals for the future of Pontiac. So we wish you the best of luck in the future.
Thank you so much for having me, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
Well, it's been great having you on the show. Anything I didn't maybe touch on that you want to add before we let you go, though?
Just want to share that the real impact here is around the collective impact framework and bringing those leaders of organizations together. We feel that we can really accomplish anything, and we can get at the heart of changing the narrative of the city of Pontiac, and we're really excited about the opportunity to do so.
Well, we're happy to have you and your organization. So thank you and best of luck in the future ahead.
Thank you so much for having me.